Hey, Michelle, good to see you.
Great to see you too. So, Ken Bechtel is known as an international love mentor, and his main website is kenbechtel.com. And I'm really excited about what we're going to talk about today because I know that what Ken is going to share can be really important in terms of you getting deep satisfaction in your love life, which is what this series is all about. So, Ken, tell us what you think we're going to cover today. Give us a little introduction and tell us a little bit about why you think this is so important.
Yeah, well, what we're going to be talking about today is really about how to get your needs met in a relationship. And it's one of the most common reasons why we end relationships, right? We're not being fulfilled, we're not getting our needs met, we're not feeling seen and appreciated and understood. And the sad part is very few of us have ever been taught in how do you do that? How do you get your needs met without feeling like you're demanding or feeling like you're needy? And it's really a key skill in order to be able to have a fulfilling partnership.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when I hear this, I know there are some women that just the word needs them equates to being needy. So already you can almost feel like there are a few women out there that are just going, oh, right around this.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
yet,
it's
and
huge.
yet, yeah, exactly. And yet what you're saying is true. A lot of reasons that relationships don't work out or fall apart are because one or the other person is not able to share their needs or get their needs met.
Yeah, and the thing that I run into, and maybe you do as well, Michelle, is we've been programmed basically that if we express our needs, that makes us needy, and nobody wants a needy partner.
Right.
And so there's a catch-22. Well, then how am I ever going to get my needs met? And then there's the fantasy that's been put out there for years. Well, the right one will just know what your needs are. He'll
Right.
magically understand you in a way that no one ever has, and he will know exactly what your needs are. So you don't have to express your needs. That's how you know you met the right guy.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, men are the world's worst guessers. So we're not going to guess what your needs are.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the only thing we can do, and this is what's the sad part, if you don't express your needs, if you don't own what your needs are, all he has to go on is what the needs of his last partner were.
Mm-hmm.
Or the other women he's dated or been married to. So now he's interacting with you as if you're someone else because he doesn't know what your needs are. So he's guessing, well, it's worked in the past. Maybe that's what works for everybody. So if you don't want to be treated like the ex or the past girlfriends and be seen for who you are and supported in being who you are, you have to learn to own your needs.
Mm-hmm. So I want to ask you something. I'm absolutely agreeing with everything you're saying. One thing that I find is a stumbling block for a lot of women, though, is they don't really know what their needs are. Like they're not fully
Correct.
in touch with what their needs are. So if we
Yeah.
have this magical thinking going on that a partner is going to just know what we want, but we don't even know what our needs are, or we're not in touch with our needs, that's where I think this all really has to begin. What are your thoughts on that, Ken?
Yeah, 100%. And you're right. A lot of people don't know what they need. Like I saw this cartoon once and I loved it because it so perfectly portrayed what goes on. It's like somebody said, what do you need? You say, I don't know. When do you want it? Now. You know something's missing, but you don't know what it is. And so it's hard to find it. It's hard to express it. And certainly you can't ask for it. But again, that programming that your needs make you needy, there's another piece of that program, which is you should always put everybody else's needs first.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're putting everybody else's needs first, there's always going to be needs ahead of yours. So eventually you're going to stop even thinking, what are your needs?
Mm-hmm.
Why even put time and energy into it? You're never going to get to them. They're at the bottom of the list anyhow. And I've had countless women, especially if they had children, right? There was always more needs for the kids or their spouse or their job or whatever else. They're like, I haven't thought about my needs in years.
Right.
I don't have a clue because they were never going to get to them. So we really do have to get in touch with what are those needs. And when you think of needs, it's what do you need to be the best version of you? I always say, what do you need to blossom? Just like a flower, right? It has needs. It needs water and sunshine and nutrients. And if it doesn't get those, it doesn't die, but it doesn't bloom. And that's how so many people end up living, is they're just surviving, they're getting by, but they don't really know what their needs are to allow them to blossom and bloom. So we have to get in touch with that first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't think anybody's showing up here wishing for a mediocre kind of relationship,
Exactly.
just survival kind of relationship.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think another factor here too for women in particular, maybe Ken, and I'm sure that this may be true for some men as well, is I think a lot of women were brought up or had it modeled for them that the way to show love was to sacrifice all your needs, was to, like you said, put everybody else's needs in front of yours. And so then when they get into a romantic relationship, they feel like that's the loving thing to do. And so they start showing up that way. And unfortunately, it doesn't typically have the intended effect that they hope that it will, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you're right. I mean, there's so many people that said, well, if you just take care of their needs, that's how you will receive love. That's why somebody will care about you, because you're a good provider in that way. You're a good nurturer. You're a good caregiver. And there's nothing wrong with being any of those things. But if you're doing it at the exclusion of your own needs, it's not sustainable. So you'll be giving and getting nothing back and wondering why not. And the way I like to describe it is, when you're doing that, you're kind of like a chair, right? If you go to sit in a chair, it's pretty much a one-way exchange, right? The chair supporting you, it's allowing you to relax and be your best and providing for you. But what are you doing for the chair? Nothing at all. So what happens? The chair's giving and giving and giving and giving. And when you feel good about things and you're done sitting there, you just get up and leave. You don't get up and turn around and go, oh, what can I do for you, chair?
Right.
We don't do that. But if you're presenting yourself as being the chair, I'll provide, I'll give, hoping that they'll turn around and do the same in return, it's a false belief. And the other thing is, if you're providing and giving and giving and giving, who are you going to attract? The guys who want to sit down. Not the guy who wants to contribute, the guy who's looking for a chair. So I know there's ladies watching this going, oh my God, I was a chair. I've always been a chair. I had one woman say I was a lazy boy recliner. I was like the most comfortable chair in the world. Nothing he had to do. And I kept wondering why he wasn't doing anything in return. Well, that's not the guy that's going to. So we're attracting the people that aren't actually going to be able to fulfill our needs, because we're not owning our needs. Again, this comes back to why it's so vital that you know what they are and be able to own those and express those in a way that isn't needy. It's actually partnership, right? You're setting them up to win, to get the best version of you, because you're committed to being the best version of you. You're no longer okay with just settling and doing and hoping it all changes eventually someday. You have to own it. And one of the challenges there is we have to feel worthy of our needs. If we don't feel worthy of them, how are we ever going to own them? I didn't do enough. I'm not smart enough. I haven't accomplished enough. Whatever that message is going through your head, you've got to transform that. Because the truth is, you are worthy of every need you have. You wouldn't have them if you weren't. Because God didn't send you here to make fun of you. God didn't go, oh, you're going to need this, but you're never going to get it. This is going to be fun. That's not what God's doing.
I hope not.
God's setting you up to win, but you have to own what's required so you can bloom.
So Ken, I know this might be a question in some people's minds, but can you make a distinction for the listeners between needs and being needy? Like, what is the difference? Because I know, and I'm coming back to what I started with here, I know in the minds of some people, they have a really hard time making that distinction.
Yeah. So I'm glad you asked, because that is a big stumbling block, because it seems like it's obvious, right? Well, if you have needs, you're needy by definition.
Right.
But that's not true. We all have needs. Everything that's alive has needs, right? Every flower, every bird, every animal, every human. Now, humans have a few more because we have emotional needs. We have intellectual needs. We have spiritual needs. We have obviously physical needs. So needs are what you require to be your best. Not what you want, but what's required. Like, you need a certain amount of sleep. Everybody does. Nobody can go without sleep. So you have a need for sleep. Or you may have a need for personal interaction, connection. What is that? Some people will need more of that. Some people need less. Everybody has their own. So those are your needs. They're actual entities, things, commodities, if you will. Being needy is when you're not willing to take care of yourself and you want somebody else to compromise themselves to take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
So being needy is the person's like, well, won't you do this for me? And the person's like, well, no, I've got other things I'm doing. And then you go, oh, you don't love me.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's needy. That's going, I'm not even willing to do what I need to be my best, but I want you to do what I need to be my best.
Mm-hmm.
Because your needs are tied to your commitment to you. When you have a need, you're going to have that fulfilled one way or another. So for example, if one of your needs is time with your girlfriends, well, your boyfriend can't be that. He can't be your girlfriend. So you're going to have time with your girlfriends. Now, if he's supportive of it, fantastic. He's like, hey, hon, let me take care of the kids. You go hang out with your girlfriends. Why? Because he knows the version of you that comes back. And he's like, you're so energized and excited and happy. I love that. Now, he knows he can't be your girlfriends. He can never provide that, but he can support you in getting that need fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's the difference between having needs, owning them, being committed to getting those fulfilled one way or the other, or going, well, I want you to take care of my needs because I'm not willing to do it for myself. That's needy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when I think of needy, I almost think of someone, whether it be a man or a woman, who's kind of looking for someone to kind of rescue them in one way or another.
Yeah, it's a good term.
Which is not typically very healthy in a relationship.
Well, it's not sustainable.
Right, it's not sustainable.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't, it's like holding your breath. Nobody can hold their breath forever.
Right.
Because what's holding your breath forever? Death.
Yeah.
It's not the goal you want, it's the end. So you can't hold your breath forever in any form, no matter how metaphorically you apply it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So if someone listening, Ken, has felt like they have had a hard time even knowing what their needs are because they've been suppressed or ignored for so long, or because they've been so busy giving to everyone else that they haven't even thought of their own needs, how can they get back in touch with what their needs are? Because I feel like that's a really important first step. It's kind of like when we work with our clients and we ask them what they want or what they need. I don't know about you, but I find oftentimes initially with my clients, they have a hard time answering some of those questions, like on a deep level.
Yeah, and they're at that point that we just talked about, right? Where they know something's missing, but they don't know what.
Right.
And so they're like, I don't really know. I just know I need help. I just know I need support. I just know I need some guidance.
Right.
So what I suggest when you're trying to figure out your needs, it's really actually kind of an interesting and simple way to do it. If you look at what have I noticed is missing? Okay. Maybe it's, let's go back to connection. I don't hear from my partner enough. Okay. Well, what would I want if I had it my way to fill that gap? Instead of what I'm receiving, what would I want instead? Oh, that's probably what I actually need. I need to hear from them every day. It gives me peace of mind. It allows me to feel connected, to feel like a priority, whatever that is for you, right? So you've got a need in that case of communication, or it could be a need of affection. Like maybe your love language is physical touch, and so you need more physical touch than your partner does. Okay, what is that? And getting clear on what does it look like? How frequently do you need it? That's really where you're dialing into the details of what are your needs and what are ways to fulfill those needs. So you kind of have a list of like, these are go-tos. Like there's lots of different ways, but I got 3 or 4 that I have in my back pocket every day. And I know if I'm tanking on this, I can go, oh yeah, what are those? Oh yeah, let me go do that. And so we have to get to know ourselves. And so many people have been actually in that survival mode since childhood that you may have never felt like you had considered your needs. And so it's going to feel really weird. Like, I can't do this. That's silly. No, but it's what has to happen if you want to be your best version of you. It's just like if you think about, if you go to a nursery, right, and they have all the plants there and they always have those little hang tags that tell you what that plant needs to flourish, needs a certain amount of water and temperature and daylight and so on. Why is that there? Because otherwise we'd have to guess. I don't know if this plant will work in my house or not. But with the hang tag, here's what this plant needs to bloom. Well, you don't buy a plant hoping it doesn't bloom. You buy it because you want it to blossom and be gorgeous. So you go, oh, look at that. It needs direct sunlight. I don't have direct sunlight in my place. Not the right plant for me. And we go on to the next one. Oh my gosh, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Bingo. So that's what we're doing, is we're creating that, literally like your hang tag, metaphorically, of course, you don't wear
Right.
one. But it's, it's so you can communicate, what do I need to blossom? So you set your partner up to win. Now, some people are going to be like, yeah, I'm not interested in that. Great. The sooner you find that out, the better. But for the ones that are, they're like, oh my gosh, you're what I've been looking for. I needed this plant that would bloom in low light with just this much temperature, so on and so forth. You're a match. Mm-hmm. That's how we're finding our match. I don't know if you remember back, I think this was in the 70s or 80s. Do you remember Garanimals?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what do? They had tags that made it really easy to make the right outfit, because you could match this top and this slack.
Right.
Oh, look, put the giraffes together, put the whatever together, to make it super simple. Well, that's what we're doing. You're simplifying, finding the right match.
Mm-hmm. So I guess if we're pulling something from this that you just said, well, there's several things, but one thing that stood out, Ken, is that actually being in touch with your needs and being able to ask for what you want or need, not want, need, is one way of finding out if you are a match, if you're a Garanimal at match.
Yeah, 100%. And, the thing about our needs is sometimes it takes some exploring. It's not like, oh, I'm going to sit down in 20 minutes, I'm going to know exactly what they are, and they're my needs forever. Your needs are going to evolve. Mm-hmm. You have to keep checking in. What are my needs now? What are my needs in this situation? What are my needs now that I have a different job, or I have a different responsibility, or I move further from my job, or my kids are now in high school instead of grade school? There's all kinds of variables that play. So it's not a one-time, let me get my needs figured out and I can stop. It's really connecting with your needs. And if you're going, I can't ask for that, I can't speak to that, well, that tells you there's some element of self-worth that isn't where it needs to be, because you're not feeling comfortable owning what you need. Yeah.
So speaking of that, Ken, I know that in some of our previous conversations, we've talked about how men don't speak hint, right? Mm-hmm. So can you model for us, once someone is in touch with their needs, how they might ask or how they might bring that to the attention of their partner or potential partner? Like, can you model some language for us?
Yeah, well, one of the biggest things is if you frame it as your commitment to being your best. Like, I'm just going to flip it around and it'll be like you and I, Michelle.
Okay.
So if I said, hey, Michelle, I realize I want to be my best with you. And in order to be that, I need fill in the blank. I need 8 hours of sleep when I have work the next day. And so I'd love to go to that show, but it's too late. So when can we go there? It's earlier on the weekend when I can do that. Because if I don't, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to get less sleep. The next day, I'm going to be lousy at work. That's going to snowball. By the time I see you again, I'm going to be not my best shape. And I'm committed to being my best. Mm-hmm. So what do you need to support me?
I need to support.
So who doesn't want the best version of you?
Right.
Right. So they're going to be like, wow, you just made it so easy because I'm a guy and I don't speak hint. Thank you for being clear. Now he can say, I can do that or I can't. I have that capacity or I don't. All the options are there, but what you've done is you've set him up to win. No more guessing. No more, well, why do I have to say it? That takes the excitement out of it. Really? Getting exactly what you need to be your best would be unexciting? It's just this fairy tale that I don't have to say him, and that's how I know it's the right person. Mm-hmm. Now, he can learn your tendencies. He can learn your preferences, but that's not the same as guessing what you need. And it's the number one thing there have been so many surveys done around this, like what would improve your relationship? They ask men and women. The number one thing for men, every single time, year after year, for decades, we can't read your mind. Tell us what you need, and we'll be happy to do it. That's almost verbatim on every one of their responses. Mm-hmm. We know we're horrible guessers. So just let us know. here's what I need to be my best. I really want to be my best with you.
Mm-hmm.
Right there, you just gave him an enormous gift.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing needy about that. You're wanting to give. You're not needing, you're wanting to give. I need this so I can give the best version of me to you. Wow. Who's ever done that before?
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you the guy would be like, you're not like other women. In a good way. Like, this is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I spent my life guessing and I'm terrible and I've always screwed stuff up. And then I felt bad. And then I was like, well, this isn't going to work. If somebody would have just given me the map, who knows where I could have been?
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge difference. So yeah, it's literally, it can be that simple, but it's that commitment to being your best. That's the only needs that you're getting filled. If you're just using that word to try and manipulate somebody, they will see through it in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so it also stands out for me, and I know this is another thing you and I have talked about in the past, that this is also a way of like setting a standard, setting a boundary about what's right for you when you're expressing your needs in this way as well. And another thing that stands out for me is you're also treating yourself like you matter when you're recognizing what your needs are. And I think that is a very attractive quality, especially if we believe that we, in part, teach other people how to treat us.
Yeah, because what you're doing is it's self-respect. When you're setting a boundary, a real boundary, let's be clear, because most people call things boundaries that aren't. It's their defenses and they say they're boundaries. But defenses are reactionary. Boundaries are proactive. Hey, this is what I need. I put a fence around my yard, not because people were in my yard, but so people don't walk through my yard.
Mm-hmm.
It's not trying to keep them out. It's just owning my space. Here's the space I need. This is the space I need to have. It's like you create a sacred space that you're committed to respecting yourself. Because what happens when we don't respect ourselves, when we don't maintain boundaries? Things get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And there feels like pressure and you feel like there's no room to expand and be yourself. But it's not because of what's outside, it's because we keep reducing what we need. So it's literally taking a stand for having your needs fulfilled. Hey, this is important to me. Remember, it's not that your partner has to always do it. It's this is important for me. If it's not from you, that's okay. I'm looking for your support and me getting them fulfilled another way. If you're not into exercise, but I am, well, then you don't have to go to the gym with me. But you need to be supportive of the fact that I stop for an hour after work and go work out before I will even consider going out to meet with you. I had a woman I worked with who literally, this is so great. So she was a corporate woman, had a very great job. She was committed to her exercise regimen. So after work, she would go work out. And she said, oftentimes she'd be kind of tired when she was done, right? So she realized that if she just went on a date after that, she would be listless, she would be tired, she wouldn't be, very focused. And so she decided that unless she had time to come home and have at least a 20-minute nap, she wouldn't have the date. And she goes, literally, I stay so true to that. If something happens with my work and it gets delayed, I will contact the guy and say, hey, my day's running late. I have to do these things before, we get together and there's not all that time. Can we either meet later or reschedule? Because I don't want to show up not being focused and being present with you. And she said, not once has a man ever said, oh, that's stupid. He's like, wow, thank you. Your commitment to showing up as your best is like an amazing gift. Mm-hmm. She said, that commitment, it scared the hell out of me. Because if I did that, I thought, oh, I'll lose them. They'll never go out with me again. No, they're like, hello, respect gets respect.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think you just hit on what the big fear is for a lot of people of expressing their needs, is they're afraid that it will be too much for someone, or they won't be able to accommodate, or they'll leave, or they will lose interest or whatever. But it's good to know that, especially if you're looking for a long-term relationship. It's good to know whether someone is able to at least support you or understand or show up in a way that is going to work for both of you. I think sometimes we're so afraid of that it causes us to hesitate, right?
Yeah. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump in there, but the key to that is your needs are about you. They're not about him. So many people go, well, I need him to be.
Right.
I need you to do this. That's not your need. Your need is, what do you need? You don't need him to be different. You need something for you. That's a way we avoid actually owning our need. I need you to be different. No, what is the thing that him being different would provide for you? That's your need. It's not about what he does. It's about your experience.
Yeah, and that's so important. Yeah, sorry. Now I interrupted you.
I mean, if you do that, you think about communication. It's like, well, it's not about I need him to communicate more. Because a guy could okay, I text you 3 times a day now and he thinks he's killing it. And you're like, no, I meant talk.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, he didn't know that. He communicated more. Because it wasn't about more communication. It's about what that communication provided for you. Dynamic verbal communication is very different than text messages. So we have to own that. And it's what I need is not what I need you to be. It's what I need for me to be my best.
Mm-hmm. And that's a really, really important distinction, because then it's not communicated in a way where it already feels like he's done something wrong or that we're making someone else wrong, right?
Yeah, because it's owning your need. It's not blaming somebody else for you not having your need met.
Mm-hmm.
It's owning, hey, here's what I need. And I may not have ever been aware of it before. Never really paid attention if that's what I need. But I know it now. Here's what would help me fulfill that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So Ken, do you mind if we play with this just for a minute before we begin to wrap up?
Sure, go ahead.
Like with a real life scenario from a conversation that I had just this week with someone.
Awesome.
So this is a woman who's been dating a man for several months during the COVID. So it's been a little bit tricky time to be dating to begin with, but they're, trying to do as what they can in a safe way. And she says that when they're together and when they're alone together, like at his house or her house, everything is fine, goes well. But she says when they're out in public or in a forum where there's a lot of other people around, this guy has a very friendly personality, and she feels like he's always staring a little too long at other women. Okay, not just a glance or noticing someone that's attractive, but staring, right? Mm-hmm. So she's feeling really uncomfortable with this, and they had kind of a blowout about it because she got really upset and mad at him. And his perception is that she's being insecure and overreactive. But for her, I believe that it feels like a need that when they're together, his attention is more clearly focused on her and not so diffused, for a nice way to say it, right?
Sure.
So how would she, so this may be a boundary standard and it may be a need, but how would she approach a situation like that? How would she say it? Would she say, I need, in order to be my best when I'm with you, in order for me to feel really good when we're together, I need to know that when we're out in public, that your attention is focused on me in a way that I really feel special from everybody else that's around. Would she say it that way? How would she say it?
Well, the first thing is she's got to identify what that attention provides for her.
Okay.
If it's just, I want to control you and you can't look at anyone, that's not even realistic, right? Human beings see moving and we look. So she's got to identify what that provides, because that's what motivates him, because men are providers. Just saying, I want your attention on me, he's like, what's that about?
Right.
He's going to say, you must be insecure, because he doesn't know what that attention provides. Right? So when you can get clear for yourself, what is it that provides? That makes me feel special. It makes me feel whatever it is. Then he's going, wow, I had no idea that when I'm not doing that, when I'm not giving you that level of attention, that it impacts you in the opposite way, right? So if you're feeling special or you're feeling safe, well, that means that if I'm over here looking at somebody else, you now feel unsafe and not special. I don't want that for you. But I didn't know that's what the consequence was.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So she has to get clear on what it's going to provide for her. And then when she states that, hey, what that provides for me is this, Like men's radars go provide. Oh, I love to provide. You can't help it. So that word, even though it seems weird, women are like, I don't like that word. I don't want to use that word. Use the word. It'll make a world of difference because you're speaking his language. And he's going, oh, that makes sense. That I can get behind. So that's really what it is. And again, so there's not a specific word until she knows what it provides for her. And just so you understand, the provide is usually feelings. And it doesn't have to make sense. You could be like, it makes me feel thinner. And you'd be like, what? How do you do that? Well,
that's a good feeling.
Like and if you look elsewhere, that makes me think, see, they're all thinner than me, and that makes me feel thinner. So there's all kinds of things that they don't have to make any sense. Feelings don't make sense. They're not rational. Matter of fact, most feelings are not logical, right? They're just like, huh? Why am I afraid of the dark? That doesn't make any sense, but I am. Well, I was when I was a kid. But yeah, so that's what you have to get clear on. What does it provide for you? And then by letting him know that, now he knows, oh my God, you don't even have to speak to what it does, the negative side of it, because it answers that already. He goes, wow, if this doesn't make you feel safe, that means I'm making you feel unsafe. I don't want that. And if he's disregarding and he's dismissive, well, that tells you his commitment to supporting you and being your best.
Yeah. Well, thank you for dancing with me a little bit in that situation and for the great tip of using the word provide.
Yeah, it's vital.
Because
yeah,
even if
just to give you an idea, I did it. This is, I don't know when it was. We were doing a couples workshop, and this one woman, we were all, they were doing their practice with this, and we got done, and the woman was saying, I did this, but it didn't seem to work for him. And I said, well, what did you say? And she skipped the word provide. I said, why didn't you say provide? She goes, I don't like it. It sounds weird. That's not my language. And he goes, yeah, and I'm totally not understanding what she's looking for. So I said, well, just humor me. Go through the exercise and just put that word in there. I know it's uncomfortable, but we're just here in this safe environment, so go ahead and do it. She did it. The instant she said provide, every man in the room's head started nodding like, that makes sense. One word. Clarified everything.
Powerful.
So that's how powerful that word is. No matter if it feels weird to you, trust me, it will pay off huge.
And Ken, I really want to thank you once again for showing up so generously. I always really love tapping into your wisdom, and you always have some really unique things to share that add another dimension to the work that you and I are privileged to do. And so I really thank you for that.
Yeah, my privilege. I love being here and providing in this way. So thank you for having me, Michelle.
Yeah, yes, thank you for what you provided.
Very good.
I'm going to use that word a little more often.
Excellent.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ken. And thanks to everybody who's here today as well. Take care and bye for now.
Bye-bye.